I'm happy to introduce Amy Siegel. Amy, would you be able to give us a little bit of background about yourself and your company?
Sure, I'd love to do that. Our company is S2N Health. I started the company. I'm one of the two co-founders in 2011, really with the goal of helping emerging healthcare technology companies with market and business strategy. I have about 25 years in the healthcare industry from a consulting standpoint, in-house at a medical device company as a VP strategic marketing, and then starting S2N after joining a startup and realizing maybe working for one at a time wasn't the best use of their money or my time. So started S2N really with the goal of helping emerging companies. Now in year 12, not only have we launched a software platform a couple of years ago called RepSignal with AI customer intelligence focused on the medtech industry, but we've worked with 170 plus companies across medical device, diagnostics, drug delivery, and digital health. So we bring that breadth of experience to our software platform, RepSignal, and it's been quite a journey. We're a startup all over again.
Wow, I love that. So you're not only helping companies in general, but you've developed a tool to tackle problems you're seeing again and again. So working predominantly in med tech, it sounds like, can you give us a little overview of what's going on in that industry and the kind of challenges companies are facing?
Sure. So when we started the company in 2011, it was right after the financial crisis. For those of us old enough to remember being professionals during that time, it was a difficult time for medtech where the funding environment had changed. So had just the general commercial environment. Hospitals were also suffering from the financial crisis. So a lot of our initial efforts were around pivoting companies to a better value proposition, a way to be more capital efficient in getting to market. So it was a lot of pivots and restarts and interesting times. I would compare that to now in some ways that post COVID, our customers are hospitals for the most part and health plans. And certainly from a hospital standpoint in medtech, times have been difficult. They all lost a lot of money during COVID. There's been a lot of consolidation on the customer side. There's also been a lot of consolidation on the medtech side as their profits have been stretched. So that's created a need again to be super capital efficient in obtaining customers and growth. So we're really part of that picture all over again. It's a bit reminiscent. Also, the funding environment on the emerging company side has been challenging, although I feel that in the past couple of months, it's starting to bounce back. But if you look back to earlier this year, Silicon Valley Bank kind of started the ball rolling, but the funding environment was already getting pretty challenging. Valuations have been low. Companies are conserving cash to live to fight another day. So it's another challenging environment. And I think we fit right into helping across the board in this environment, just like we did in 2011.
Wow. It's not something that you want to see happen, but there's something exciting for me to know that there are people who weathered a storm and are able to like come alongside another person and like help them through it. So I love that you have the experience to actually sit down and do that with people.
Experience or age, one of the two. Sometimes it's just living long enough, but yeah, I do think we survived that. We'll survive this, and certainly it's not as dire as it was back then.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So if we that was kind of very high level. And if we were gonna actually take a microscope and look at the companies you're interfacing with, consulting with, and that Rep Signal is solving problems for, what does this look like now in the commercial teams you're serving?
Right. So let's focus on RepSignal. RepSignal is it's our own cloud platform where we provide AI powered customer intelligence to medtech commercial teams. That's our initial vertical. We have sites on other verticals in the healthcare space and other customers within those. So really, how that fits into the larger picture today is, medtech teams have to be more efficient than ever. It used to be that, for example, one regional manager in a Salesforce of a medtech company had 7 or 8 territories. Now that number might be 10, 11, 15. So they're really having to bridge across a broader geography. They're having to be much more focused in their energy and their time. Also, there's a lot more turnover in teams with consolidation among companies. They are constantly restructuring their Salesforce. Teams are having to confront new territories, new customers, a lot of churn. So, they need to really get up the learning curve and be productive faster in that environment. So, really being able to have the intelligence to do all this efficiently is more important than ever. And we fit right into the middle of that.
Yeah, I imagine you probably are working with a lot of sales ops, rev ops teams as well in that.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, so our offering integrates with Salesforce. That's how you and I met, is at a Salesforce oriented meeting. We made the decision right at the beginning of starting RepSignal back in 2021 that we were going to integrate with Salesforce. We weren't going to try to be a CRM. Salesforce has somewhere between a 70 and 80% market share of CRM in medtech. And as much as some people may resist or become agitated by having to use Salesforce in a way, because it's time they're not selling, it takes some work to get value out of. Certainly, they're not going to give up on Salesforce. It's become a tool for medtech companies that they're going to stick with. So, in thinking about how to deliver this customer intelligence to medtech, one of our very early strategic decisions was we have to integrate with CRM. We have to meet them where they are. And we think we have a value proposition in making CRM more valuable across the whole team and perceived that way, because now the reps are actually getting a lot of value from going into CRM to help them meet or exceed quota, in addition to providing leadership with the insights they need to successfully manage sales teams. So part of that value proposition is also integrating with analytics. So that brings us to sales operations, and RevOps is being able to not just guide, the reps to the right targets and know how to engage with them, but to have a sense of what the opportunity is and how to redeploy those resources effectively, knowing where you are in the market. So certainly sales ops are among our biggest fans, because we drive value to the team and we drive value to leadership and we drive value from the CRM as well.
Yeah. Sales ops is my background primarily. I've done all kinds of things. My background is mostly being the first person in the role that they're hiring and just figuring it out. But that's usually led me to sales ops, because you got to put the infrastructure together for marketing, for sales, and that has usually fallen to me. And so I know how bottomless Salesforce can feel. It's kind of like we're redoing our kitchen right now. We're doing it all on our own, which we probably shouldn't have done that. But I feel sometimes like it's like Salesforce, because there's endless possibilities, which is great, but it's brought with it endless challenges. And so challenge is a core of this part of the conversation we're having at the industry level, all the way down to individual teams. And I would love to understand, if we go down into the meat of what you are doing, how does RepSignal help?
So being from the world of business and market strategy, when we decided to initially develop and launch RepSignal, we did our homework. We also had a front row seat at some of the challenges in our industry, because we were living and breathing beside medtech companies of every stage and size. What we were seeing was a lot of money being spent on data. Everyone knows they need data. So what we were seeing was our customers on the consulting side investing an enormous amount of money in data, and then really not knowing how to make it actionable. So, maybe somebody deep in health economics or deep in corporate marketing had access to these high-powered databases or sources of procedural data, physician data, hospital data, very complicated to use, took a lot of time, and they were actually involving us to some degree in helping them make that data useful. So we thought, given that we had already begun developing our own cloud platform of data from, claims data, private and commercial and Medicare, all the way to facility level, physician level data, we were starting to aggregate that ourselves. And really the founding principle of RepSignal was, how do we take all that data, apply our domain knowledge to it, to really say what part of that large data elephant is going to be helpful to you, commercial team, in what you do, which is market and sell your products and solutions. So, that is what's special about RepSignal, is the ability to curate that data to really specifically what a company needs to be successful. And then to put those insights, and I won't even call it data, it's really insights, to put those insights right where people live in the CRM. We also have a standalone platform. We know some companies aren't ready for a CRM, or some users within a company on a CRM might not be living and breathing in the CRM. So we certainly have a standalone solution as well. And we've had customers sort of grow up with us from standalone solution to, as they commercialize, moving to Salesforce and integrating RepSignal right in there. And for those customers, we've been able to almost pre-populate their Salesforce instance with all of this rich data from day one. So the time to value from CRM investment is vastly accelerated in those cases.
Yeah. And I have insights others don't. We had lunch last week and I got to see the tool, and it's beautiful. I've used a lot of data sources throughout the years in niche industries and general ones, your Zoom infos of the world. And I think this was the most impressive one I've seen in terms of its integration and fluidity, just getting into the system. I could tell right away the time to value is there. All right, love it. So closing this out, there was a part in your session at Life Sciences Dreamin where you talked about the virtuous cycle for driving go-to-market innovation impact. I found that interesting. I wondered if you could walk us through that.
Sure. So the virtuous cycle, I actually have a couple of those I use. I do a lot of coaching and training and teaching at a few universities focused on healthcare innovation. And I always like to think of virtuous and vicious cycles because I think it's helpful in saying, how do I get started and what do I do right that sort of sets the dominoes going in the right direction. So in terms of rep signal, really the foundational piece of the virtuous cycle is what I'll call ground truth data and aligning everyone in the organization around that ground truth data. So in the medtech vertical, if you talk to anyone who's been in the medtech industry a while, you'll hear that sales and marketing often aren't very aligned. Marketing is trying to help qualify leads, figure out targeting strategies, messaging. Sometimes it can be a little bit disconnected or perceived as disconnected from sales, whose quotas might be misaligned with that strategy, or that strategy isn't fully implemented in the sales strategy. So, rep signal, what we're finding, especially at the enterprise level, is just that data curation step of what data is really relevant to our commercial team across marketing and sales really creates that alignment around ground truth data. So that is step number one in thinking about the virtuous cycle. Are we all looking at the same source of truth? Then that next step is around that curation, is around that, how do I take this data and figure out from it, who am I actually targeting? Why? Are there sub-segmentations that I need to think about? And how does that tie to messaging? So that's really how do I make the data actionable by bringing to light the insights that are really important and saying, who is going to be a great customer for me and why are they going to purchase? The next step is really the CRM integration. It's that bringing the data to the people, both on the execution side of sales, marketing, as well as sales ops, sales leadership, bringing that data against your own sales data so that you can really look not just at, am I targeting the right customers? Obviously, being in the CRM, you can also look at those third-party external insights along with your own sales data as part of your targeting strategy, but really measuring your success of your go-to-market motions and your sales targeting. So having all that data in the ecosystem, right where your sales data lives, enables you to much better track your effectiveness and refine your strategies. So that's really the third leg of the stool in terms of that virtuous cycle. Like, do I have ground truth data? Am I using it in an actionable way to drive my sales and marketing activity? Do I have the data where it needs to live for people to use it effectively and efficiently? And then can I see that data to track how effective am I being and what can I do to go at it even better the next time? So that's really all part of the virtuous cycle that we are enabling with Rep Signal.
I love that. The older I get, the more I realize, like, oh, you just got to have a framework or things fall apart.
Exactly.
And what I know that others might not know is not only will there be a data source of truth with Rep Signal, but it's refreshed and accurate very often, which is a challenge with a lot of data sources. So that's just something I wanted to plug that I noticed. So
Yeah, and that was another part of the value proposition is our data is alive and it's now alive, in your CRM. So the time and cost of maintaining data, of refreshing data is significant. And we just take that off of your plate. So, that is another big value prop for sure.
all right. Well, this has been a great conversation. I thank you so much for taking some time, and hopefully people will stick around for the next one as well.